All right. This is always where the magic happens. So let me go to my channel. There we go. I turned the volume down. I remember the first time I did that, it was like Echo City. I was like, oh
Right.
my
Like,
God. I
what
was
did I just do?
panicking.
I broke it.
I broke it. I was panicking. But that makes me the almost expert now. You do it two times. Look.
That's right. I did started doing a podcast
Mhm.
and everything went fine. We've been, honing it in and, not this past time. We did it almost perfectly this past time. Two times before that, one, the battery died in the middle of the interview. And then the very next one we did, um, it ran out of storage and cut off. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway,
Technology. Look,
I know.
all lessons learned for sure, definitely. Oh my goodness. So I am Makeba Evans. This is my YouTube channel, Make Moves with Makeba. This is Lender's Lounge. As a real estate professional, I step out into these real estate streets, forge relationships, have business partners who we lean on one another to help build each other's businesses. And of course, in what it is that we do, we are changing people's lives with real estate. And Art is a gentleman who I met several years ago through one of our mutual friends, Jackie Johnson. She brought me to one of your outings. You get
Yep.
out in the world before COVID.
Been a while, been a minute.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was such fun, and it has continued to be fun with you over these years, the ebbs and the flows, the ins and the outs, as we are navigating through real estate. We know it's secular and times are changing, people are changing, the economy is changing, but people always need somewhere to live, right, Art?
Somebody's got to live somewhere.
Definitely, whether you're living alone, you have children, you have pets. We have a lot of people who are doing that multi generational, several different layers of family members in the house. The children are leaving, empty nesters moving into the city, out of the city, relocating to another country, expats. We are here to help those people who are real estating because that's what we do. So, whether you are a seller or buyer, a real estate agent that's popping in here to see what other agents and lender partners are talking about, thank you so much for coming into the room. Again, this is Lender's Lounge. I hop on Thursdays, sometimes it's in the AM, sometimes it's still AM, but it's almost afternoonish when I can get on my lender partner schedules, and Art made this work for him today. And today we are talking about something that keeps homeowners from being their best selves when they're selling their property. The biggest mistake that I find is that the homeowners aren't doing that proper investigating necessary to make sure that they aren't helping to sell their neighbor's house. And there's so many different layers and levels to what that means. And today, as we want to help you not sell your neighbor's house, we're going to talk about the financing. We don't want you to be in a desperate situation because you don't know your numbers. You don't know what that conversation should be looking like as you are negotiating, because that's so important, to have that best mindset, to be in that prime positioning so you're not selling your neighbor's house. This is a competition when it comes to buying and selling real estate, because most homeowners are going to buy another house when they sell their house, so being open-minded, having that conversation with professionals like myself, a real estate agent, like Art, mortgage professional, and knowing how to be prepared as we're out here doing those things. So, Art, please briefly introduce yourself to our viewers that are watching live or on replay.
Absolutely. First of all, Makeba, thanks for having me on. I have missed your face. So now we'll have to we'll get back together now that you're on this side of the world. But my name is Art Wood. I run the Art Wood mortgage team. Been in business in the mortgage business consistently, and I say that as a pat on the back since 2005 because we've
Mhm.
gone through some things in the
Yeah,
last 21 years that caused a lot of folks to get out of business. You know, they couldn't cut it during the well, if you couldn't cut it in the pandemic, you're in the wrong business because that was when, that was our honey period.
yeah,
Um, but when 08, 09, 2010, and we're going through a recession, people were getting out quick and fast. So I made it all the way through, by the grace of God.
yeah.
Um, I have an amazing team that consists of T.R. McCart, that is my loan partner. I've got Jack Roach, who's my processor, and Eddie Cox, that is my marketing guy. And together we have been able to accomplish great things. And I've been consistently since 2019 anyway, top 1% in the country in what I do. We're sitting in downtown Tucker on Main Street, which is where I was born and raised. And then off topic, I've got a beautiful wife, Karen, a 17-year-old son, Trace, who's I say mini me. He's 6'2.5". I'm 6'4", and he's never going to catch me. But we like to do all the same things. And then my beautiful daughter, McKenna, who's 15, getting ready to be 16 in August and driving. That's scary.
Mm,
And our 125, 130-pound dog, Bodie. So that is my why. I think everybody's got to have a why, and you got to get up in the morning to feed other mouths than just yours.
yeah, yeah. Ah, I love that. That was a perfect combination. You have your business family situated and leaning and depending on one another, and of course that home life.
And then the
And
spiritual, you can't forget that too. I'm a worship leader by hobby. Been a worship leader since 2004, and still trying to do those things.
yes, of course, the creator, God, so important. Every morning, every breath that we take to be appreciative because there is someone out there who is not doing as well as we are. So, yeah, while we're out in the world and we're dealing with other people, our goal is to be human, and help other people to not be seen. That's like the worst thing ever, to feel unseen. So yeah, definitely. Thank
We'll
you
do
for
another podcast on some in-depth stuff on that. But
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we have to see ourselves in the world. We're
right,
not here all the time. In our minds, it's nice to be here to make sure that we're not depressed. But
right,
as we're navigating and being a human in this space, we should be here.
sure.
Definitely. All right. So, Art, let's go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty, man. I mean, it's nothing like the phone calls and the text messages and things that I get where people just want to go. I saw this house. I want to go look at this house. Well, have you been pre-approved? Well, no, but this $475,000 and 22-cent house that I want to go look at. In the beginning of my career, Art, I was like, let's go.
Yep.
It didn't take long though till I was like, get the gas prices now. Yeah, we're not doing that. There's a system, a strategy to making sure one, the person who's looking for a house is not disappointed. They're looking at $475,000 and 52-cent houses, and they can only qualify for a $399,000 house. So that's kind of like bursting their bubble. So we want that window shopping to happen to stay motivated. We want to be better prepared by having a conversation. Sometimes they start with me, a real estate professional. Sometimes they start with you. But once they come to me, they need to go to you. So,
Right.
Art, let us know what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Is people, you either just two camps of people, and I'm trying to do this. I'm like 6'7". Sorry, kid. My kids will kill me.
I still don't know what that means.
But you
But
have some that are overly qualified or overly concerned, and they're like, "There's no way I can afford this $400,000 house." And then I get through with them, and they're like, "You could actually afford an 800,000 or $1 million house." No way, you serious? Um,
right,
if I'm being honest, those are the type that I like working with. Those are the easier types,
right,
because those are the types that aren't reactive.
Mhm.
And you find in our businesses that in life, when you're reactionary, things don't necessarily go the way you plan for them to go. And you start chasing your tail. So, I'll tell you one of the sad stories I had. Somebody had listed their property, had been working to get it sold, get it unlisted for months. I'm sorry, not listed, it was listed under contract for months. Then they came to me for a pre-qualification.
Mm.
And I lost a realtor relationship over it because our advice differed,
Yeah.
because they could not qualify for much of anything.
Right.
And so I said, what you really need, and they're like, 20 grand, it would raise the value of our house by 50 grand and all this, and I was like, if it were me, I would back off. I would, pay down the debt, work on the credit cards, spend the next 6 months or whatever it is, renovating the house, getting the repairs done that you need to get done, and then come at it from a position of strength. Again, you're
Right.
not chasing your tail. And that we agreed. That was great advice for them. But the agent got pissed off because what I had to do to get this thing under contract and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I understand, but it's not what's best for the client right now.
Right.
And if we do what's best for the client, they'll always come back. They'll appreciate it in the long run. So, the first thing is really um, coming and talking to me to know what, if you can,
Hmm.
and then you develop a strategy. Because do you already own a house? Do we have enough money to put down on the next house?
Right.
Or do we need to sell first? Or can we really afford both and be able to pull equity out of the first house to do it? So you really create that strategy.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other thing is, to your point too, so some people are like, there's no way I can afford a $300,000 house. You show them the payment, well, oh, that's not so bad.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's even strategies like, well, I only have 10 grand. Well, I am not. I'm sure you have other lenders that are big into down payment assistance. I'm not. I think it's a racket. So I don't push that. I'm like, yes, you got to have at least $10,000 to put down, and you got to count on the seller coming up with 10 grand to cover those things. So
Hmm.
it's really that first icebreaker conversation, strategy, knowledge, get comfortable kind of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. I'm listening to what you shared about that communication piece, definitely with the real estate professional and their client. And honestly, I'm sitting here listening and I'm wondering, after this home sold, where was the client going to go live? If they they were going to end up without a home, the home would be sold and now they don't have a place to go,
The
so
agent wanted me to suggest them renting some buying the house, selling the house and then renting that. I'm going, I don't think that was in their
yeah.
best interest.
Yeah, no.
So
Not at all, unless that's what they want to do. I've
that's right.
had clients that that's what they wanted to do,
Yep.
but those contingencies are very important because typically when we're purchasing a home, again, that pre-qualification is important. Well, pre-approval definitely, but a lot of clients won't accept an offer if your home isn't listed yet. It's like a different layers to that. And again, where are the clients going to go? It's nothing like being in a position where you have your things stored, paying that cost in a we're trying to figure out a Airbnb
Right.
situation, like what's going to happen with the
It
client.
may be a good scenario, but you're right. It's conversation. I mean,
Yeah,
you're having a similar conversation about where to live and what schools. It
exactly.
is a
Right,
strategy, and so you're having different conversations. You're relying on my expertise,
right.
to be able to say, okay, this is exactly what we're looking for. The other thing that people do, I'm very self-deprecating. I believe in humor a
Yeah,
lot. And there's gonna be some buyers that maybe we don't click because they want to be too serious about it, and that's okay.
yeah.
But they're like, all right, well, send us a pre-qualification or pre-approval letter for $400,000. was like, all right, that's great. Because that's where you told me your max payment, what you wanted to be $3,000. That's what you wanted your max. Okay. Whatever that number is, $400,000. And without fail, within 2 weeks, they're asking for a $425,000.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
definitely.
are you sure 400? Oh, we will absolutely not go above 400. Okay. 425 is only $150 more. That's not a big deal. So
Mhm,
and that's the other thing. And I'm gonna get up on my soapbox too, is I don't ever answer the question, how much do I qualify for? Because I
mhm.
don't think that's the right question. The right question is, do I qualify for what I'm comfortable
Yeah, that comfortable mortgage payment for sure.
with? Because you may qualify for $800,000, but that does not mean you're comfortable. And I don't even want to give you that. I don't even want to give you that data, and so that it tempts you. It's
Mhm.
like, what? Tell me. Let's take all the emotion out of it. What are
Yeah,
you comfortable paying? Let's
right.
qualify to that.
Yeah, that's important too with the conversation between myself and you while we're out looking. We know that they're going to see this house, but potentially want to put in an offer or see a house that fits what it is that their lifestyle would look like. So
That's
we know, okay, that we can factor some HOA in here. Okay, it's some different things that we might need to add in. So I like to go out with my clients with a safe word, Art. Sometimes they get a little willy nilly out there and they start looking at stuff. You like, did you really need 10 windows in your closet for your shoes? I mean, that's not, those weren't the things that we talked about originally.
that was not in your checklist. That was not in
The
your,
wraparound porch and like all of
that was not in your must-haves. Well, now it is.
it wasn't. It wasn't. Definitely. Something
But
that, yeah.
same thing in your business. It's I looking to buy my daughter a car,
Mhm.
as a 16-year-old, and she says it has to be white, it has to have Bluetooth, it has to have a sunroof,
Yeah.
and the one that we was Apple CarPlay,
Mhm.
was kind of negotiable because we weren't going to buy her a new car.
Yeah.
Um, but so it's like, all right, here's the absolute must-haves.
Mhm.
Here are negotiables. When we bought our house in 2014, I wanted a third car garage.
Right.
And we ended up with a house that didn't have it, but that was a nice to have, not a have. So within, I don't know, 7, 8 years, I built one. I built a third car garage.
Mhm. Got you.
So, so it is a strategy between you and I, between the buyer, and some people, I've had some people that I'm like, well, how much money do you have? Well, that's private.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do you expect me to help you if I don't know the facts?
Right.
And I was like, it's totally. I'm not reporting you to the IRS that you have $300,000 in your safe. I'm not. I don't care how much money you have, other than the fact I do want to help facilitate because I don't think you should spend every last dime on a house because then what
Mhm.
happens when the AC breaks? So
Yeah.
anyway,
They're eating oodles and noodles and house poor. Look, not able to do those things they were doing before, but they have this beautiful house, and hopefully they didn't get a lot of credit to fill it up with furniture,
that's
and
right.
they're you know living on a shoestring budget for sure. So you mentioned something too, as I was talking about helping to sell your neighbor's house, those improvements. Something that I unfortunately see is sellers are improving for things that they want in a house, which is not necessarily what people are buying on the market. So spending that money unnecessarily, and not even unnecessarily, but in the wrong way. So when you were speaking about home improvements, that's very important not to just rely on what it is that they think they know, talking to family members, looking on the internet incorrectly, and not searching to make sure that they're properly positioning themselves. Because, I get sellers and they're like, I spent $35,000 on, that has nothing to do with the market value,
No,
what people are purchasing. at all. I got this cashmere purple wall. I love print, so I'm going to reference the alpaca purple carpet.
Right, right.
I spent, and or what about the home improvements that they didn't get permitted? I have a finished basement.
Not
Who
officially. Not the county doesn't know that.
the county doesn't know that, so those are definitely mistakes that we have these conversations that people can just click on this video and learn, so when it comes to properly making those home improvements, what is it that you would suggest?
Well, that's really more your scope than my scope. What I would
Well, I
suggest,
meant the financing side, like if they want to.
I mean, dude, I don't care what they do. I mean, if they have enough money to do that and buy a house, that's great. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it's still you've got to try. You can't manhandle it. It's kind of like I love it. It's like you want to make God laugh telling your plan. You
Yeah,
know, I hate it when people call me and tell me how to do my job, or if somebody call I'm going to put all I'm going to spend $20,000 and put all new windows in. Well, that's really that may help you sell your house a little bit
a
faster,
little.
but probably not for more money.
Yeah,
We spent on our house, we spent between $30,000 and $50,000 a few years ago, I forgot what it was, to take out all the trees in the front yard. It was a wooded front yard. It was a beautiful house that sits up on a little hill. Took out all the trees, sodded, added landscaping lights, landscaping features, everything else. And I'm like, this does not add to and I know it doesn't add to
right.
my value one bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it provides lifestyle equity. That means that I'm going to draw every time I go by my house. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty house.
Yeah.
And it may help it sell faster, but not for more.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think that they've got to trust you. If they've got say, hey, we've got $20,000 that we budgeted to get our house ready for sale,
Mm-hmm.
and not to say I looked on Chat GPT or I looked at this or whatever. It's like no, I went to my real estate agent, Makeba Evans, and she said this is exactly what I do because what else? What else? That's why they're paying you. They're not, whatever. That's why they're paying you is for your expertise and what value you bring if they don't trust it.
Right.
So
Definitely.
yeah, it's really not a finance question other than if there's a finite piece and you're like, hey, we really need $50,000 put down on this house, and I have $50,000. Well, you don't have the money to do the renovations or whatever. So you need, don't go spend that now because you need it all for this. So that's part of the
Right.
conversation. And I know some, if you're selling your house too, I know some contractors and some real estate companies and some, whatever will do like, not, I call them ready to sell, but where they'll do pay at close,
Pay it close. Yeah.
which is nice. But then, and then, which is probably your next set of questions is, that becomes you're buying with a contingency at that point if you're expecting to sell the house first, and that's a whole nother strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the thing about, a lot of home sellers are like, I'm not doing anything to my home. I'm selling it as is. So they're having that attitude and mindset up front, and the wall is up. That barrier is built, and that is again that mindset of helping to sell your neighbor's home, because there typically are some things that will need to be done to the home to get it ready. And when somebody sees something, a $500 expense turns into $10,000, I'm exaggerating, in their brain,
Right.
So making sure, again, like you said, that you're leaning on your real estate partner and having those conversations to see how to properly frame that experience when the buyers come in to the home.
Well, as is it is a strategy, and it may be a good strategy if it's priced right.
Hmm.
But as is at the top of the market ain't working.
At all.
Nope.
Anything at the top of the market is not working if you want to create that buyer frenzy,
Yep.
Yeah, you want
And
them to
then
be.
as is typically doesn't mean that it's in great shape. If they're selling it as is, it typically doesn't mean that it's in great shape.
Yeah, it doesn't. Look. It doesn't at all. For sure. Okay, so we know a question that I hear often and is the buzz on any feed on the World Wide Web is interest rates. But they're paying mortgage for someone that they're renting their property and they're worried about what the interest rate would look like to own their own.
So I could be here all day long and talk about what drives interest rates, and I'll speak to that some. But typically, right now, rates are again everything. There's not a rate of the day.
Right.
There's just not. You're going to get a different rate, and marginally, you're going to get a different rate if you're FHA versus conventionally. Depending. Um, you're going to get a different rate if it's an investment property versus a conventional. You're going to get a different rate if you're putting 10% down versus 20% down versus 30 or 40% down. But in general, rates are in about the mid 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at where they've come, I mean, there was a time, and I'm terrible about remembering when, but in the last 3 years when rates had popped over 8, for for a brief minute. So then there's a large period of time where it's 7s. So 6.5 is not bad. And I'm not going to ask the lady her age, but I don't think we're too far off in age, Makeba. And a lot of my peer group, my first mortgage was actually 6.5%.
Mm-hmm.
But not even one generation, but probably 10 years older than us, 10 to 15, they talk about their 14, 15, 18% rates. So on average, I think over the last 40 years, we're actually a little bit below average now of what that is. But there's so many of us that were homeowners in 2020 and 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a beach house that's at 2.75. My primary residence is at 2.5. And that's where this glut of home buyers in their 30s and 40s, they think that's normal.
Right.
And so it's interesting from a political, well, not a world geopolitical side. We had in February 28th, I believe, is New York Times put out an article that said rates dipped below 6% for the first time since 2022. And which wasn't completely true. Oh, yes, you could pay a point or whatever and get 5.99 or something, but anything for clickbait. But if you also remember what happened on February 28th, 28th, or 29th, or whatever, we attacked Iran.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the 10-year Treasury, that's a good litmus test to where rates have been.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at like 3.5, no, 3.95, I believe. I'm gonna get this wrong. I should look it up. 3.9, 3.95, somewhere. And then it popped up to almost 4.7 within this year.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's settled down to just below 4.4. So, and what that is directly attributable to is oil. Oil prices had gotten up to like $117 a barrel, and now it's like 70.
Mm-hmm.
So what that also means is why that's the case is because oil drives everything. So if oil is expensive, everything's expensive because it takes oil to run the factories, it takes oil to build stuff, it takes oil to fly planes, all this jazz. And so it's inflationary, and interest rates, which are fixed, don't like inflation.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all you get there. And I would like to think that as if this Strait of Hormuz and Iran and the U.S. and the Israel and Hezbollah, if all this would just quit, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be back. It's not going to fix overnight,
Right.
but in 6 months to a year, I'd like to think that we might be back to that, high fives, low sixes. And I think, to change, to stay in the same gear, but shift a little bit too. I think if we get down to that 5.5 number, the floodgates will open up for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think going from 3% to 7% is just too much for for somebody whatever. But Going from 3% to 5.5%, that's more feasible. But then you almost got to be careful what you wish for, because you open up kind of a buying frenzy and it starts driving house prices up.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm a big, in fact, I haven't paid attention. I think it's still on my website. My old marketing person, she says, I want 4 words that describe you. And
Hmm.
I don't remember what the rest of them were, but I said mortgage nerd. And it is, because like if you want to start talking about interest rates and geopolitical tensions about what's driving interest rates, I'm your guy. But and so many folks just don't understand where that number comes from. They think if they call 97 lenders, they're just 97 lenders are waking up in the morning and go, what rate of return do we want
True.
today? That's not the case. We all have the same rate sheets, basically.
Hmm.
And we all have most of the same guidelines. It's really more of, something like, and I'll talk about this later, but, what programs, that'll differentiate some folks. But for the
Hmm.
most part, from 97 lenders, there's going to be a quarter difference in rate. Between 97, somebody might be 6.375, somebody might be 6.625, and the difference in that payment may be $50. So is it worth calling 97 lenders, or is it worth going to somebody that like, and trust?
Right.
I'm getting on my soapbox. We got to get me off.
Uh, no, that's what this is about. I mean, when we have the viewers hop in on social media and hear us talking, that's how they know that we know what we're doing,
That's true.
right? We're able to navigate that conversation and, be mindful of the fact that our goal is to make sure what it is that they need, we can provide it to the best of our ability. And we're having those conversations because we can only help them where they are or where they want to be. And just for them to know we're not in a selfish mindset. It's not about us at all. Our goal is to make sure we help them. That first time home buyer, we want this to be their first investment property. That's the mindset. For those people who have inherited homes, we want to make sure that they have everything that they need to be able to stay in the home and for it to continue to be something to build their legacy. So being a resource for individuals, real estate is one of those things that have made the most millionaires, and where you start is where you start. And if you choose to continue to use this as a vehicle, then we want to be the ones to have the conversations with, for sure. You mentioned the fact that we will be talking about more of your products later on, not today, in another in another segment. But I just wanted to wrap this up, for one, telling you thank you for coming in the room and being that resource as a mortgage professional, lender partner, helping to get your clients where it is that you feel. I mean, because we should stand in our power, because in that conversation with the real estate agent you spoke about before, you could have been like, okay, but you weren't. You were like, yeah, this is not the best thing that I think should be where you guys are looking for your destination here. Let's figure out what some other options can be. And that definitely speaks volumes to who we are. We're leaders, we're not followers. And I just want you to share with, because typically, again, like I mentioned earlier, people who are selling their homes are looking to buy next. So if there's somebody in the next 6 to 12 months who own their home now and they're looking to buy another, what is something that you would suggest that they do besides contact you, of course? And yes, please leave your contact information. I'm going to add it to the description, but right now, if you can share.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not anything else that I've already said. I mean, it
Mhm.
is it is get in touch with your team early and often.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there's plenty of folks that aren't ready, that could be ready in 6 months, that could be ready in a year, and you got to have that conversation. Um, so I don't really have a different answer. It is really rely on your team, and whether that's not just me, that's not just you, that's both of us, and to have that conversation early.
Right.
I think that's if it's 6 months. Now, look, there's some folks that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, have a perfect credit score. They probably don't need 6 months to figure out if they're good. But that really and just to trust your team. I mean that I don't have any better answer than that.
Well, let me reframe that, and we're not going to get into the credit score specifics. We know they need a credit score, but what do they need to qualify for purchasing a property? Tax returns.
I'm gonna beat a dead horse.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but because everybody's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I got a text message earlier, and I was in the meeting, so I texted her back and said I'll give you a shout when I'm out of the meeting. Then I heard from her agent. She left a voicemail. She goes, "Well, she doesn't speak great English." So I'm very hands-on and want to build a relationship because that's very important to me. Not just for this transaction, for every transaction, and be your mortgage guy. But everybody's going to be a little bit different because if you don't call me, you don't know that going from a W-2 job to a 1099 is a bad idea if you're trying to buy a house in the next 2 years. So it may be 2 years. It may be simple. You may be a W-2 employee and it's 2 years W-2s, 30 days pay stubs, 2 months bank statements, and a driver's license. That's it.
Yeah.
But we got to have that conversation too. Well, are you going to wait to sell till after you buy? All right. Well, now I need information on that property. I need your mortgage statement. I need your tax returns. So, call me first. And then we'll go through that. Because again, not, to talk about programs, not talk about programs. I've been doing some videos recently on non-traditional mortgages, non-QM. And somebody may say, we look at tax returns. I'm going, you say you make $300,000, but you're paying taxes on $50,000. So you're bringing in 300 top level, but you're paying taxes, and that's not going to qualify for the $600,000 loan. You're wanting to put down 20-30%. That's great. Let me see your bank statements. Can we do a bank statement? What is the credit score? And so we do all, as an investment property, that's not going to qualify. But if we do a DSCR loan, we do all of those in house. So it's, did you ever, and apparently I've asked this question 1,000 times and nobody ever knows what I'm talking about. Do you ever remember reading Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yeah. Of course.
Good.
What page are we flipping to? Okay, you kind of alluded earlier. I'm 54. So yes. Yes.
Oh, you got me by a year. I'll be 53 in September. So, but yeah, for those of you that watch this that don't know what Choose Your Own Adventure book is, you read about Bob and Sue going on a hunt, and they get into the woods. And if you wanted to turn left, go to page 12. If you wanted to turn right, go to page 14 or whatever. And then you go to page 14, and they encounter this pit but filled with snakes, and there's a rope. You wanted to turn back, whatever. So it's like I loved it. So like it mortgages. I'm like, okay, are you buying it as a primary residence? Okay, go to page 14. What's your credit score look like? All right, well, it's 750. All right, that's conventional. So go to page 12, whatever it is. And so you end up asking all these questions, hey, are you self-employed? How's your tax? Go to page 14 or 18 or whatever it is. So you have to choose your own adventure until you narrow it down that funnel. So it's like, this is your loan. This is a tight loan. And then we need to execute on that. And if it's somebody, like I said, it makes $250,000 in their W-2, whatever, that's quick. But you don't need any real work. But for that person that, self-employed, there's a lot of stuff out there. Non-QM is what it's called. The bank statements, the 1099s, the DSCRs, the asset depletion. So if you pay your bills on time and you have a history of savings, you can probably buy a house.
Got you. Perfect. Thank you. Art, tell people how they can call you, beep you, if they want to reach you.
Beep me. Now you are showing your age. Now you are showing your age. Well, I got this pager right here on my hip. No, my website is artwoodmortgage.com. And my email address is art@artwoodmortgage.com. And to my wife's chagrin, I have one telephone number. It's my cell phone number, and it's 404-909-3567. A lot of folks carry the two phones, so they're not bothered during family time. But my family knows that if I don't answer that phone, they don't get the experience of life that they've become accustomed to. So they know I'm answering that phone.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Art. And we appreciate you sharing your knowledge today. For those people watching live, we dip back in and we check the comments and we do answer them. So we appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, like it, subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you know when we are in here talking about those things that can change your life. Real estate, the best decisions are informed decisions. And before you decide to sell your home, before you assume you can't afford to buy a home, transitioning to your next home, there are options and we need for you to understand them. So if you would like to speak about your real estate journey, need a real estate professional, I can assist you in all 50 states and several countries. Art, where can you help people at, man?
All 50 states, not several countries, just one country, but all 50 states. Because the one thing I didn't mention, our Wood Mortgage team exists within Luminate Bank out of Minneapolis. So when you're associated with the bank, you get to lend under their licensure. So all 50 states, which has been great because you get clients moving out of Georgia and they want to keep their mortgage guy they've had for life. And that's important to me.
They got you. Yes, Art, you are an incredible resource. So thankful to have you in the room today. I think you've agreed to do a couple of these. So we will see you next month, that fourth Thursday. We will figure out the time. But either way, whenever we choose to go live, you can always watch the replay here in this space, this place, my YouTube channel. Thank you again, everybody, for being a part of this journey. We want to help you change your life with real estate. You can reach me 770-539-5954. Art, I do have two phones. I just want to say that.
Oh, see, I knew I'd put my foot in my mouth. I knew I'd put my foot in my mouth at some point.
So my business phone is 770-539-5954. And it does go off it's on silent at 7:30. I'm going to get the text message and the voicemail and all those things later. So call it. Don't not call it.
Do I have your personal phone or do I have your business phone number?
You might have both, but if you have an iPhone, there's confusion happening in there because you don't know what number that you're calling.
I do not have an iPhone. I'm a Droid guy.
I have Droid. One of them is Droid. One of them is.
Oh, geez.
Thank you, God. This is our energy, man. So, like Art was talking about earlier, we like to have fun in this. Sometimes you have to be lifted up. Oftentimes you have to be lifted up. There's disappointments that set in. We like to crack a joke to get back to reality, to get that energy back right, and to take us back to that creator mindset, that God mindset. So this is us. There's no faking the funk. You're not gonna hop into our world and it's gonna be somebody else. That's why I love video, because when somebody's calling me, they saw my video, they know who I am. There's no disappointments or regrets or anything because they want to crack jokes with me.
That's like online dating when you get catfished. So what is your number again? I want tell your number again.
770-539-5954. That's the one you have.
I have your business number.
You do, but I can give you the other one.